conversation. She's got her story to tell you. I won't say any more, but I love her dearly. I have a lot of pride in her, and I'll hand you over to Lee Hanson. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for coming tonight and taking the time to come and meet us and listen to us tonight, and give me the opportunity to talk to you and listen to your concerns and what you're looking for in your politicians. Before I do that, Jordan, would you stand up for me, please? Jordan Putner, everybody. He is our Bass One Nation candidate.
Oh, right.
We'll ask Jordan to introduce himself a little later and obviously share with why he's running in politics and what his important priorities are for this electorate as well. We have candidates in the lower house seat for every seat in the state, okay? Please go online if Bass isn't your electorate and see our other fantastic candidates. 3 of them are veterans, and we're proud to say that, and 3 of them are younger than me. So we're bringing in the next generation as well, which I'm really proud to say. So here I am. What a journey so far. And it's really funny. Every time we've been touring the state and listening to Mum, and every time I listen to her, I learn something new, which is fascinating. And I feel really intimidated because she can roll off all these facts and figures, and I'm like, how do you remember that? Oh my God. I know, right? That's what she says to me too. Honey, it's experience. It'll take time. Yes, I know. So first of all, I've been asked the question, why? Why are you doing this? Great question. I've asked myself that a few times too. Over the years, so Mum got into politics when I was about 10. My first experience, I was dressed up in a floral dress and had to stand there handing out how to vote cards on my school polling booth, and I had absolutely no idea what it was all about. What a whirlwind from there. I have seen Mum go through some amazing experiences and the opportunities and her achievements in her career, and equally I've seen her go through some of the worst moments in her life. She talked about her time in prison when I was about 19 years of age, and that was the hardest point in my life, seeing the person you love dearly, your parent, your role model, to go through what she went through. So we've had lots of ups and downs, and the impact in seeing her go through that, as well as the personal impact on myself and my siblings, it's been tough. So over the years, people would say, oh, are you going to get into politics like your mother? And I'd say, absolutely not. Why would I? As if. But I suppose the critical turning point for me has been the last few years, now being a mother. So I'm 41 years of age and I have 2 young boys, 10 and 7. I married met a Tasmanian in Queensland. He wanted to come home. I joke, he says he missed his mum. He wanted to come back to Tassie. We moved here and I absolutely fell in love with the place. We got married and we had our children here. So I ask you first and foremost, 13 years in Tassie, do I qualify as a Tasmanian? No? I still keep hearing that. I hear all different things. No, you won't because you weren't born here. But I've bred too. Is that going to qualify? Then I don't know what qualifies. But it's really funny. I am in love with this state. You know, since raising my children, Mum said to me, you know, being down here away from my family and not raising them around their grandparents and aunties and uncles and siblings, it was hard, right? It was very hard in the early days, sleepless nights, and you just want help. Mum said, honey, come home, I'll help you. I said, Mum, I can't, because I know this is the best place for my kids to raise them, and that's the sacrifice I need to make for my children. The sense of community I have loved and adored. I live on a property just outside Richmond, and I love the community. I'm involved in the community, the school programs. It is a beautiful environment for us down here, and we look after each other in Tassie, and I'm proud of that. But even in my time being down here, I've seen enormous change, and it frightens me and it worries me as a mother now, that turning point through life experience and what I've seen, that I'm worried about my own children's future. I honestly do not foresee that they will be able to own their own home. The way of life has changed. The cost of living You know, my husband, which I'll tell you about in a second, has had some health ailments, you know, being the main income provider or the sole income provider for many years. It is hard to make ends meet. You're trying to raise kids, you're trying to pay the mortgage, the cost of living. It's harder to get the jobs aren't always there, the competition, the housing accessibility, all these issues seem to be on the rise, and you see more and more families struggling, and we're trying to help each other in the community where we can, which is that great sense of Tasmanian pride, but it has me deeply concerned. Being raised by this amazing woman, I am very proud and privileged to have been raised by my mother. So as a female, being raised by a strong, tenacious, resilient woman has taught me so much. And she's taught me exactly those qualities and values which I hold dear, and I am privileged to have acquired those from her. But the other thing she's actually taught me through the ups and downs is knowing when to have a voice, knowing when to speak up when you need to, but more importantly, if you have a voice, and know how to use it when others don't feel they can. And that is why I feel it's time that I need to speak up for my own children's future and your children's future and our future. I have that experience. I know I'm capable. I've been taught by one of the best, and it's time to raise my hand, and here I am. So the next challenge is people say, oh yeah, Nepo baby. You know, you're just being thrown into the seat because you're your mother's daughter. Which makes me laugh, because my mum actually has more expectation or standards of her own children, as you can imagine. And I need to prove my worth just as much, if not more. She's the first person to say my brothers, because I'm the baby, I'm the only girl. My brothers, she would not have them anywhere near her in politics. She knows they're not fit for the role. So, but what do I offer, and what do I bring to the table, and what do I want to do for you? I've learned a lot through my career. So a little bit about me. Since I moved to Tasmania, I originally started at Southern Water and amalgamated into Taswater. And then I moved to the university, where I worked for just shy of 8 years, and most recently, last 6 months at Hydro. So I've worked for some big organisations in Tasmania. I understand how the system works in these organisations and the everyday employees that are working across these organisations as well. My background is HR, and I've worked my way up and been in senior leadership roles for the last 15 years. HR management. I moved into the university, started in HR, but I soon became a standout person, or recognised as a fixer, where I seem to levitate or go towards where there's a problem, how do we just get in and fix it? And my ability, the way in which I do that, is not going in pretending I know all the answers, because I don't. It's about understanding and working with the people to know what their issues are, what the real problems are, and how do we work together to get innovative solutions and fix it. So leading teams of up to 100 or more people in strategic change transformation. How do we fix and improve things through innovative thinking? That's my background, and I've had some great experience and success in my career through those industries as well. So that's what I bring to the table. I'm a collaborator. I want to work with people, and I listen and talk to people to understand the issues and work out how do we fix it together. And that's the key difference as to why I put my hand up. I do not see that from our current politicians. And that concerns me greatly. They are representing us, however, I do not feel they understand what the real issues are. So I'm going to ask this question. Who knows all of their 12 Tasmanian senators? Anyone? One. Wow. That's impressive. You're the first person I've met. 5? Maybe? 1? I'm sure you all know one. Mum's already named one tonight. Those that you do you know them for the right reasons? No. Yeah, same. And that's what worries me as well. Those that you do hear of, I do not feel that adequately representing us as community members. And that's what we need within our government. The role is to have diversity of thinking and ideas to debate and achieve critical thinking and better outcomes. If you have everybody in there cut from the same cloth, you get the same answers and you do not make any improvements. And that is what we offer. Ensure you have diversity of thinking from your politicians and people who have been in everyday roles. Mum informed me, because I'm learning a lot, and this is part of the decision too, 84% of our current politicians are what we call career politicians. Do you know what that means? They've never had a day-to-day job like you and me. So how the heck do they know what the situation or the problems are, and how can they give the best solutions? That just blew my mind. Blown away. They get parachuted into these roles and work their way up and have never been into a day-to-day job. My eldest son, who's 10, weirdly enough, loves politics, which is, I find fascinating, but great, admirable about him. We call Mum Grampy, by the way, not Grandma, but Grampy. He said, I want to go to Parliament House and see how it works. He wants to understand what Grandma does, or Grampy. Great, let's go. And we had the privilege, and I took him to Canberra to see how it works. So here I was, proud mum. Right, honey, he's all dressed up, all looking all in his first little tie, and we went into the Senate to sit on the floor. I said to him before he went in, this is a really special, critical moment to see how our country is run. The leaders of our country helping to define our laws and legislations, great privilege. Watch and learn. I walked out of that room about 20 or 30 minutes later, I think it was, and my son said to me, Mum, they're worse than the kids at school. What was that? He said, all they did was yell at each other and swear at each other and abuse each other. He said, they're running our country? I said, yes, and I was ashamed. And whilst we have a laugh, because we all know that's exactly how it is, here we've got our children looking up to our role models, and all you see them is slander and slag each other instead of working together to help fix the problems. And that's who is running our country, and that concerns me deeply. I want to be a role model to my children. We all should be. Demonstrate the qualities that we want to instill upon them of being decent humans. And that's what I bring to the table as well. So Tasmania, it's been great being on the road because I get to learn and hear more about what your concerns and what you're living and facing every day beyond my own immediate life experiences in Tasmania and what I've heard. And I've seen and witnessed a lot. Some of the key priorities for me, as I say, cost of living is a big one. Mum's talked about some of the policies. You'll hear from the different parties, they'll talk about the problems, but they don't necessarily have any solutions. Pauline, or Mum, has talked about, obviously, for how do we reduce the cost of living and how to, in addition to that, housing accessibility and affordability. She talked about the fuel excise as one of the policies, reducing that for 3 years. Another one, which is the alcohol tax, removing the alcohol excise tax in pubs, clubs and restaurants, helping to reduce those everyday costs. Another big one is dual income or family splitting. Have you heard about this one? Yep. So currently, as a family, your incomes, you lodge single tax returns and you get taxed. One Nation's current policy is actually to join, if you have one dependent child in your family, say if you earn, an example, $120,000 as a combined income in your family household and you have one dependent child, split that income, lodge it as $60,000 each, you can save up to $10,000 tax a year. Is that better than the $5 a week? Years ago. We need to bring it back. Let's be real about it. This will actually help alleviate the childcare system as well and give families the opportunity to spend more time at home and if the primary carer with their children and bring back to those family values. Another policy which is really important to me and I think it would benefit Tasmania in the building industry is remove the GST from building material products. So 40 to 45% of new build costs is taxes. You think of every layer of government in building a new house, 40 to 45% of that is tax or associated costs. By removing the GST from building materials up to $1 million for new builds or renovations, extensions will help families bring more properties onto the market and obviously lower the cost as well. There are solutions to this that are more viable for us in the long run. And it's not just about coming up with solutions that are short, quick fix injection of cash, but it'll actually have long-term gain as well. We talked about foreign ownership, reducing foreign ownership, stopping foreign ownership, sorry. The age pension is another important one. The age pension, we've got retirees. I'm getting tongue-tied because it's been a long day. Self-funded retirees. We need to ensure we look after our self-funded retirees that have worked and saved their money and therefore should not be disadvantaged. So we want to actually lift the tax-free threshold to $35,000 for self-funded retirees. We have a lot of community members in Tasmania. We know we have an ageing population in Tasmania, and the cost of living has actually increased. But through the ageing population, we're losing the knowledge and retention out of the workforce. We're not appreciating and recognising our retirees' knowledge that they can still provide and offer, and then with a cost of living increase. How about we appreciate that and recognise that and allow our veterans and age pensioners to work without any impact on their pension? We want to support them. So there's a lot of solutions we actually, which I want people to know. If you're not aware of it, have a look on the website and see what One Nation has to offer. A few other things which are really important to me is the education system. Are you aware that 50% of our children that come out of school in Tasmania are illiterate? Blows my mind. You know, as a mother with 2 children going through the schooling system and seeing the problems we have there, and it's not just one problem, there are a multitude of situations that need improving. I've been speaking to some principals and some teachers and trying to hear firsthand from their point of view, what's going on. Our national curriculum is not at the level it need or should be. Children are slipping through the cracks and we're not actually supporting them, and in some cases we're pushing them through when they actually haven't acquired the skills of basic reading and writing before they get pushed to the next grade. And I've had mothers come and talk to me that their children get to year 7 in Tasmania before they're even found or discovered that they can't read and write. Still today. Our teachers are overwhelmed. We do not have enough teachers in Tasmania. We do not retain our teachers or attract to them appropriately. Teachers are coming out of university. Principals are saying to me, Lee, we get these teachers that come out of university, but they haven't had enough or they haven't had any real practical experience. And they get trained and come into university and they step into the classroom and they get a shock. It's not what they thought it would be. Why on earth aren't our teachers getting a year of practical paid experience in their first year of university to learn firsthand what the real world's like? How do we attract more teachers to go through that as well? So we've got to look at the pipeline of teachers that are coming through to support our children. So there's a number of issues in that space. I know personally firsthand my eldest son, who's 10, he's academically he's in the top of the class. I have 2 polar opposite boys, chalk and cheese, mind you. But my eldest is actually really smart and he's academically doing beautifully. He's doing really well. But in the last year, the teachers have started talking to me because he's a boy and he fidgets a lot in class. Okay? So he sort of gets there and he starts doing this and he's tapping his pen and he's carrying on. So the teachers have come to me and the principal. Lee, you need to get your son tested for ADHD. I said, what do you mean? He doesn't stop moving in class. He fidgets all the time. He needs to get tested for ADHD. Correct. I said, he's a boy. Boys move all the time. They do. They don't stop moving. I don't understand. He's academically doing great. His grades are in the top of the class. You think he has ADHD? Yes, absolutely. He has all the signs, all the red flags. You need to get him tested. They have made me do 2 ADHD tests with him in the last 6 months. The first one came back no. No, it can't be right. Need you to do it again. I had to go meet the school psychologist again, who only comes 1 day a fortnight, mind you, to service the whole school. And again, came back as negative. No, we still feel he has ADHD. You need to go to a paediatrician. I said, well, what do I do there? She said, go to your GP, which took me a month and a half to get in, mind you. Go to your GP and get a referral for a paediatrician. I said, has anyone actually spoken to my son about this? I said, if you actually sit down and talk to him, he's telling me the reason why he's fidgeting in class is because he's bored. He's not being challenged enough. Our curriculum is catering for the middle percentile of students. Those that fall behind get, at the lower scale get left behind, and those that are actually on the higher end of the academic scale are bored. No wonder he's doing this. He's 10. Nope, he's got ADHD. So as I said, I went to the GP. I said, what do I do? I'm really worried. And do you know what they said to me? Why I need to go to the paediatrician? There's medication for that. I was ropeable. I actually got my back up at that point. I said, if you tell me the answer to my son fidgeting in his seat is medication and that's a solution for it, that troubles me deeply. Because I am not going to put my son on medication unless that is the absolute last resort I need to. So the GP said to me, Lee, she laughed at me when I said, I'm here to get a referral for a paediatrician. She said, good luck. You'll be waiting for 3 years. Again, where are our specialists and doctors in Tasmania? So we have major issues, right? Firsthand, I know from my own experience how much this is. Our schools don't have... Remember Harold the Giraffe? I haven't seen him in a while. What about the school dentist? Our teachers and principals have to be social workers, educators, lift the curriculum above the standard, try to deliver above and beyond. So our teachers actually do need support. I'm not saying it's their fault. They need support, and they're crying out for support as well in many cases. But we need to look at the end-to-end system and help them. So the health system is another one dear to me. I told you about my son. Another example as well, my husband, as I said, has some back issues. He didn't work for a few years because he had troubles with his discs. High risk, they wouldn't operate. Anyway, long story cut short, finally got back to work, and late last year he had a fall. I was home at night with my 2 sons, and he had a fall, screaming pain, could not move on his back. For the first time, I had to call an ambulance, right? And I've never called the ambulance for any situation before because I don't want to clog up the system. When you have to go to the hospital with kids, just get in the car, let's go. First time ever, I personally had to call an ambulance. 4.5 hours went by. I rang them back. Where's the ambulance? 11:30 at night by this time. They said, look, Lee, we're really sorry. We're not going to be able to get there. Can you call a cab? And I said, he's a 120-kilo man. I can't move him. How am I meant to get him in a taxi? I've got 2 small children here. I wouldn't be ringing you unless I was desperate. And it's not their fault. I understand that. But this is a situation our health system has actually gotten to, and I'm hearing similar stories all around the state, and this worries me deeply. We need to fix it. Hands up if you believe these emergency Medicare clinics are a good idea. Have you used one? Yes. Yep. This worries me as well. So I've started speaking to some GPs to explain it to me from their perspective, and it's been illuminating. So these medical centres are being promoted as 24 hours. If you actually have a look at the ones in Tasmania, not one of them are a 24-hour clinic. They're being publicised or promoted as 24-hour clinics, and they are not. So here we have a GP shortage in Tasmania where GPs are actually having to close their doors or shut down because we either can't get doctors or the poor doctors can't afford to keep their doors open. The cost of living and expenses for them has increased enormously. Where do you think these doctors are going to come from for these medical clinics? Potentially. Because they're federally funded, they're offering twice to triple the amount that GPs get in their current practices. So GPs are going to leave and are leaving their normal GP practices to go get better money. Why wouldn't you? I don't really blame them. In these urgent Medicare clinics. So when you go to these clinics for emergency needs, you know, cuts, abrasions, stitches, etc., it's just first response. They do not do ongoing care. So after you walk out of there, and if you need any ongoing care, they will tell you, go back to your normal GP. They're not there anymore. They're now working in these urgent care clinics. So it's actually robbing from our ongoing medical treatment and care centres for your normal prescription refills and day-to-day care. It's not a long-term viable solution. So these Band-Aid impacts actually have a greater knock-on effect for us as a community. But there are other options. I've been speaking to some of the nurse practitioners around the state and gaining some information. We need to look at other viable options, and one thing I want to actually look at, rather than these medical urgent care clinics, why aren't we not better utilising our nurse practitioners? They are trained. If we can set up our nurse practitioners in pharmacies and other medical clinics, why can't they help on emergency care, bulk build, and actually let our GPs do the ongoing care for families and retirees, etc. So let's look at more viable solutions long term, and that's something I want to explore that I think would be better for our regional and remote areas, in particular for Tasmania. I could talk to you all night, but I'm sure you've got lots of questions.
Authorised by P. Hanson for Pauline Hanson's One Nation Brisbane.